right, good evening. I call to order this meeting of the City Council of the City of Manvel, March the 20th, 2023. We have an inspirational reading by Councilmember Akery.
Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Comment about Thomas Edison.
All right, will you stand and join me with me in the pledges? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. All right, and first off, we have a proclamation for Fair Housing Month, which is in April 2023 this year. Whereas the Department of Housing and Urban Development has initiated the sponsorship of activities during the month of April of each year designed to reinforce the department's commitment to the concept of fair housing. And whereas the City of Manvel supports equal access to all Americans to homeownership opportunities, and whereas the City of Manvel supports equal housing for all our citizens without regard to race, color, religion, sex, disability, or national origin, and whereas the City of Manvel supports programs that will educate the public concerning their rights to fair housing opportunities. And whereas the City of Manvel is honored to join the federal government, the state of Texas, and local jurisdictions across America in celebrating the rich diversity of our people to live where they choose. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Deborah Davison, Mayor of the City of Manvel, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Fair Housing Month. All right, and next we have the recognition of Elaine Graham 20-year work anniversary. And before I go out and join Elaine, I want to say that Elaine was one of the first people I met when I came to the city and sat in a chair and occupied my little office and was really sort of sort of off balance a little bit because I was new to the place, but because the wonderful lady that occupied my position before me had been here for 14 years. So I was coming in to fill some pretty big shoes, and Elaine made that easier. She almost coddled me. And that was something that no one had done for quite a few years, and I rather enjoyed being coddled. So it made my beginnings, my middles, and now my near end so much richer to know someone like Elaine Graham. So, having said that, on a personal level, let's get to the good stuff. I have a few things to give to Elaine and to read off. Those are my favorite parts, doing this. All right, next we have a public hearing to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of an approximate .5727 acre tract of land located at 17205 Highway 6, Morris Avenue, Manvel, Texas, described as Reserve C1 of Manvel Town Center Section 1, Partial Replat Number 1, from Planned Unit Development District, State Highway 6 Overlay District, PUD/SH6, to Planned Unit Development District, State Highway 6 Overlay District with specific use permit, PUD/SH6 SUP, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the use of property for NAICS use 621210, offices of dentists, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. Do I have anybody who would like to speak to this public hearing? Call number 2. Do I have anybody who would like to speak to this public hearing? And call number 3, anyone who would like to speak to this public hearing. All right, next we have the city manager's update. Oh, okay. I don't think we have any, do we? Yeah, we don't have any. City manager's update.
Mayor and council members, I have a couple items for you. April the 1st, the city is putting on an annual Easter extravaganza. It's from 10:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon over at the AISD CTE Annex. It's right on the corner of Lewis and 1128. Everybody is invited. We have various things from kids ages 1 to 4, 5 to 9, and 10 and up. We have vendors, we have some games, obviously an Easter egg hunt, so everyone is invited to come to that. One of the things that the staff has been working on, both Brooke has been coordinating, but those from Development Services have been gathering the content, but we've been putting together videos and pictures on the city's website for the capital projects. If you go to the city's webpage under Government, and then under Departments, Development Services, and Capital Projects, there is a listing, and so far we have drone shots and pictures for Manvel Town Center, the Manvel Municipal and Athletic Complex, the detention facility down on South Masters, Valencia, Pomona, and DeBella Lakes. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get drone shots as things are developing in these various either commercial developments or in the residential developments, so that the citizens can actually see the progress that's going on. We try to go out weekly and take pictures or drone videos of various things. We obviously can't go out and take drone shots of every development every week, but we're trying to keep up with that. And as things are coming online, if there's a commercial development or anything, we're trying to capture those as well and put them on that same place. And again, it's on the city's website under Government, Department, Development Services, and Capital Projects.
And I want to make that just a little bit easier. It's cityofmanvel.com/projects. I've created a redirect that's really fast, so you don't have to follow.
Very good. And we also are putting it on social media as well that have links back to that same place. So, and then let's see, we had a special events meeting where we invited various people, various entities that had special events. with the new ordinance in place. We went through the process, the application, the information that would be needed in order to apply for that. Approximately 15 people attended that, and there was positive feedback from those participants for the meeting. Obviously, we're going to keep working on that, but it's something that came out of the special events ordinance revision that you approved just not too long ago. And then the last one is the Manvel Public Library has a new website. And it's www.mybcls.org. I'm not sure exactly why the Brazoria County Library System needed a new website, but they have a new one, and it's mybcls.org. So that's what I have for you this evening, ma'am.
All right, I have a question. I mean, you alluded to the fact that we were going to have these special event sort of consortiums every once in a while. And I think that once businesses get used to the fact that we are going to host those, maybe we could have them quarterly or something like that.
Sure.
Or even biannually, just enough so that people can come and get the information and get the updates. And Brooke, I want to thank you for making that easier for us to get to, because going through all those links was going to be a chore for this old gal. So, all right, we have quite a lengthy consent agenda, and so do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, regular agenda, consideration and possible action to approve the city audit for the year ending September 30th, 2022. Mr. Robert Belt, hello.
Hello. Good evening. It's an honor to be here today. My name is Robert Belt. I'm the managing partner of Belt Harris Pahacek. It's my first time to be out in quite a while. I would say new building when I came up. He's telling me it's been here 2 years, so a lot has changed apparently since the last time I was here, but it's my honor to be here tonight to present the results of your audit. I'm very pleased to announce it's an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide City Council that all the disclosures required by generally accepted accounting principles have been included within the report, and the financial statements are materially correct. And that's exactly the type of opinion you want to get tonight. So that is fantastic news for the city. There's a tremendous amount of financial data within the report, and I'm not going to bore you with all that data, but I do want to point out a couple of highlights to you. If you only looked at a few pages within the report, page 30 and 31 would be probably the key page to look at. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. In the business world, this would be your income statement. This shows the results of the operations for all of your governmental funds for the year. The general fund came in with revenues of $12 million. Expenditures came in at $11,543,000. You had a net increase in fund balance of $471,000 for the year. You began the year with a fund balance of $7,967,000, and you ended the year with a fund balance of $8,439,000. As you know, in a governmental entity, fund balance is the primary indicator of financial health, and bond rating analysts will look at your fund balance, compare that to your total operating expenses for the year, determine how many months or days you could go without any additional revenues coming in. And so it's typically 30 days would be the minimum amount of fund balance someone might expect you to have on hand. 60 days would be good. And so from that perspective, the city is in a great position from a fund balance perspective. So the city is extremely healthy. So that is great news. The non-major funds are presented in a separate column. If you want to get the detail on that, there's a separate report at the very back, a separate schedule at the very back of the report, back on page 86 and 87. I'm not going to go over that because that's the smaller funds, but I just wanted to show you where that would be located at. And then the results of your water and sewer operation are presented over on page 37. For the water and sewer fund, total revenues came in at $1,648,000. Operating expenditures came in at $1,685,000, giving a operating loss of $36,000 before a contribution, capital contribution in from the general fund of $2,910,000 for the year, giving you a net change in position of $2,873,000 for the year. So almost break even from the water and sewer fund operating perspective. So all in all, good year to have. We did have a management letter comment that is a loosely bound report at the very back. It's kind of stapled, 2 pages back here. The first letter is what we refer to as the management letter. The management letter is traditionally something where we talk about the bad stuff. This will be noncompliance with laws and regulations, issues with internal controls. There's only one comment on here, and it's a forward-looking comment, so this is not something I would consider to be bad. It's just giving you a heads up that there is an accounting standard coming out next year, and so we're just officially making sure you're aware of that accounting standard that's coming up. So anyway, not to be anything to be concerned about with that letter. And then we also have a second letter referred to as the required auditor disclosure letter, and I tell you, this letter gets longer and longer every year based upon all the things that we are required to put in there. But I'll save you a lot of reading and just say that the audit process, and that's what this letter covers, is the audit process. The audit process went very smoothly. The city was able to provide all the documents and information we needed. So the audit process itself went fantastic. So nothing to report in that letter as well. So great audit all in all. More than happy to entertain any questions city council may have.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Belt, welcome. We're glad to see you and see you in our happy new spot, and come back and see us again. So thank you. I think we're good.
One comment?
Yeah.
Last Friday, we actually had a ratings call with Standard & Poor's for the debt that the city is going to consider issuing next month. We're going to get the results of that tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So
Okay.
the people from S&P looked at everything, especially the draft of the audit. It was a very short call, actually. They got everything they needed, and they were very happy with what it got. So as soon as I hear from them tomorrow, I will let you know.
Sounds great. Okay.
Thank you.
Sunny future.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 2. Oh, we need to have a motion to approve the city audit.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? And the motion carries 7-0. All right, number 2, consideration and possible action to direct staff on the amount of debt to be posted for the for the building of a new police department, community services building, and city hall. Kyle.
Mayor and council members, back in January, you authorized the advertisement of $35 million for possible sale of certificates of obligation. Joe Morrow had come to talk to you about it. Included in that $35 million is $21 million for the police station, $8 million for the community services building, and $6 million for the expansion on City Hall. Joe has to go out to the market and let them know what you wish to issue in debt. So if you wish to issue that $35 million, he can do that. If you wish to issue something less than that, we need to tell him that tonight so he can put it on the market as soon as possible. We can get that back, and you will actually take action on your April 3rd council meeting to actually do all of the things necessary in order to do that. But what we need tonight is, what is the number?
Okay. All right, discussion.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Can you remind me why we lumped these all together?
You have to advertise that in the newspaper. So what it is it's an amount.
Well, I mean, like, why these aren't individual projects if we know, you know what I mean? Like, if we felt like the police department was the most important, then we just accept that one. Why are they, like, lumped together?
You could do that. If you wanted to just do the police department, you'd say $21 million, so we'd tell him, and then it would be done.
list that again? 21 million?
21 million for the police department, 8 for the community services building, and 6 million for the expansion on City Hall. So 21, 8, and 6.
And how much is that going to impact our rate for this year? So we don't start paying for that until not this year, but next year? Is that correct? Okay.
No, actually, Chris, as you were going into the budget cycle, y'all did an anticipatory tax rate. So you actually raised the tax rate about 3.6 cents this past year in anticipation of this debt coming to market. So there will be a payment in August, and we will be looking to structure the debt so that the tax rate that was levied will be covered by the tax rate, you know, right, that you sent. The debt service will be covered by your levy. Boy, that shouldn't have been that hard. If you do all of the projects, and the reason why we lump them all together is you get efficiency in size, right? If we come with 3 separate issues, you multiply your costs, just like it would be 3 mortgages or something like that. Every time you go to the market, you have fixed costs that you have to cover. So the larger issue, if you have as many projects as you can lump together, bundle together, you're going to get the most efficiencies, not only in your cost to access the capital markets, but the purchasers then you bring in a different set of purchasers. Because if you're selling, you know, $8 million in your annual, principal amount is going from 200 up to 300,000, it's a different buyer. If you're coming to market and you're starting with a $500,000 and going up to $1 million, you're bringing in bigger buyers, bigger purchasers of debt. Y'all are a AA plus. We expect that to be confirmed. Remember, that's a very high rating. The only thing above you is a AAA. So when you're a AA plus and you're coming, you know, for the first time to market, if you go with the whole thing that's about 35 million, you're going to start to get the attention of some of the bigger players, what we call tier 1 institutions like a State Farm or a Travelers Insurance. Those are the folks that they're buying 4 and 5 million at a time, and they don't want to buy 8 years worth of a deal. They're looking to get their order filled in maybe 3 or 4 maturities. So that's one of the things that a larger bond size helps you with. Now, believe me, the majority of the issues I bring to market are under 10 million. So there's still a very efficient market for those. It's just when you cross over and you're a highly rated credit, you do begin to get the attention of, what we term tier 1 institutions. But there's a whole lot more middle market institutions, than there are tier 1s, right? So.
May I get some clarity, please? Sure. So you made, at the very beginning of your statement, you said when we went to 0.57 of our rate, that included knowing we were going to go into this kind of debt? So it's not going to impact us moving forward for a little while?
What Chris did was take about half the bite, okay? If you leave everything in, and we projected here this afternoon as I was looking at things, it's like, well, what is our assessed value going to come in at, right, next year? Big guess. I said, okay, let's say it comes in at 10%. Well, how did I get 10%? Because that's a lot. That's, over 300 million. Well, I went back and I looked over the last 4 years, and so going back to 2018, I think it was, you had 13% growth, then you had 15% growth, then 18% growth, and then this last year, it dropped down to 12% growth. And part of that is, you're over $1 billion now. So these growth numbers are significant, but you also have continued to grow. And what is going to be certified for the 2023 tax year is done, right? It's on the ground. So anything, if you were to drive out around January 1, that's what the appraisal district is charged with assessing, whatever was on the ground as of January 1, 2023. So anything that you see coming up now isn't there, but isn't on the roll for the next 2023 tax year. But we didn't really get into too much of a slowdown in Texas. The rest of the nation had more of a housing slowdown and construction slowdown than we've experienced here, because we're still having a lot of folks move to Texas, and industries as well. So I would think that 10% growth is a fairly conservative number, even though it sounds big. Y'all have just been growing by leaps and bounds, and we don't really see that slowing by the permits that are being pulled still. So that's how I got the assessed value, was just saying, okay, we're going to be 10%, and that would be to keep everything in the package would be about a 4-penny increase. Okay, now if you did nothing but the police station, what would happen then? Your tax rate would actually go down, right?
Yeah.
Because you would have enough in your tax rate currently to cover it. So in the debt service tax rate, so it would slightly go down. So the Public Works building is basically about 3 pennies, and the City Hall is just over 2 pennies. But because you kind of planned ahead for it, it would only be a total of 4 pennies, right?
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions? Jason?
What did this building cost us $1 million 3 years ago, right?
Actually, 2.1.
All right, so even so, 2.1 3 years ago, and now $6 million. It's not going to get any less expensive to build a building.
No.
And we're already busting at the seams here and paying rent for the library. So, I mean, putting this off only makes it worse on the taxpayer. It feels hard on them, but we've done the right things. We budgeted already for it. You know, we're not having to rip Band-Aids off. We're easing into it, and it only gets worse to delay it. I know that's not popular, but it's the truth.
It is the truth, yeah. Yes, sir.
One of the other things is, as Joe is talking about, is that's the impact of the debt service portion of the property tax rate. The maintenance and operation portion of the debts of the property tax rate is going to be affected by this same increase. And as the value goes up in the city, the maintenance and operation portion of the debts of the property tax rate is going to come down. So we don't know what the overall tax rate is going to be, but if the debt service portion goes up some or a little bit, and the maintenance and operation goes down some or a little bit, it could be close to the same or maybe a couple of pennies up or a couple of pennies down, depending on the amount of debt that the city wishes to issue.
In hindsight, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, in hindsight, past me, being new on council and having been given the opportunity to build this building, I would have pressed harder than to build 2 buildings, not the one. And it would have been cheaper. It would have cost us less in the long. It would have been a bigger bite. It would have absolutely been a bigger bite. But I think in hindsight now, seeing how quickly we filled this building, I would have voted to build 2 buildings.
And quite frankly, we didn't know.
Agreed. That's why I say I'm
we
not faulting
didn't
you.
know,
I'm saying
and
experience.
I at one point was, and I'm just gonna lay my cards on the table. I at one point was you know, I was definitely for, I mean, community services, dear goodness, let's get those boys out of the bio over there. And then we have, of course, the police station, and, or I say, of course, the police station. And then I considered the expansion of City Hall being the one that might be, you know, kind of a malleable sort of decision. But as I see the 160 sort of waning for now, and in the possible recent future, I'm in great hopes that it will still be a downtown that we hoped for. But we are not going to be able to house the people that we need to run this city if we don't have a place to put them. And that's just brass tacks. And so, you know, you consider, and I actually do think with the debt service and that we will come closer to being that penny or two, and not so much so that we can't continue, because it will even out, and it will get better to go down. I mean, we hopefully all know how that works. It's an eventuality because of the progress and the growth that we're going to have. I mean, that is the way the finances work. But so I have moved my position to be that I would like to authorize all three. But I'm open to anybody else saying anything else.
I have a question. If you could, Kyle, can you remind us, what did we post? Like, didn't we go out there and do our post already? How much did we post?
The advertisement, that was $35 million.
$35 million, okay.
Yes.
You know, I'm weighing with what you're saying, Mayor. I just wanted to make a comment that this, there's so many other buildings that we're going to be able to use this and any expansion for. Because there's so, we've had a lot of interest, and I know there's a lot of discussion about, you know, possibly moving the library for the future and having the space to be able to do it. And the fact that this building is built where we can tear out the middle and redo whatever we need to do on this side. So what I'm hoping is that if we do consider an expansion, it'll be a very similar type of building, however we do it, so that we can use it for multi-purpose the same way.
It is anticipated to be a metal frame building just like this one. And you're right, now, with the exception of like the bathrooms and the plumbing, those are the only things obviously that you're not going to move, but the walls themselves are metal stud walls.
That's the only thing that's leaning me towards that, because, you know, we're going to always be in need of facilities in some way, shape, or form. And
Yeah.
Jason, you're right. I mean, it will not get cheaper. And every year, we've been so close to that rate. And the only reason why we go down is because the people just aren't here yet, and they're coming in droves, and then that's going to start evening out as well. It's not going to get any slower.
It hadn't gone up?
We haven't gone up at all. Yeah. So.
Larry?
That hurt. I agree with Jason, Mayor. I think that we've got a good audit. If HEB had never started, then we would have worries. But now, that's all changed. So I think this is the opportunity, we better take advantage of it and at least get this going.
Anybody else? Anything else? All right, so what is our motion? Our motion is I make a motion to direct staff on the, is it $35 million of debt to be posted for sale for the building of the new police department, community services building, and city hall.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Thank you, Mr. Morrow. We appreciate you.
See him at the next meeting.
Yeah. Consideration and possible action to approve the first of two readings of ordinance 2023-0-15, an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of an approximate .5727 acre tract of land located at 17205 Highway 6/Morris Avenue, Manvel, Texas, described as Reserve C1 of Manvel Town Center, Section 1, Partial Replat Number 1, from Planned Unit Development District, State Highway 6 Overlay District, PUD SH6, State Highway 6, to Planned Unit Development District, State Highway 6 Overlay District with specific use, PUD, State Highway 6-SUP, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the use of property for NAICS use 621210, offices of dentists, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, forwarded with favorable recommendation by PD&Z 4-0. Jessica?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is a SUP for a dentist's office, which is NAICS use number 621210. And this is for property located at 17205 Highway 6, which is located in Manvel Town Center. So this is about a half-acre property in Manvel Town Center. The dentist's office will be a standalone facility. The way the PUD was adopted for Manvel Town Center, it allowed all the uses that we have in the light commercial zoning district and other specified commercial uses that they wanted. However, it stated that if we had something that was a SUP in our light commercial zoning district, that we would have to go through the SUP process. So that may be the question that was you're asking your mind, why is this before me for review? Manvel Town Center is currently under construction, and it's proposed to include a wide range of, retail facilities, commercial, and office uses. The dentist office is a low-intensity medical type use that won't have any negative impact on the overall development in regards to traffic and such. The use is also part of the larger commercial development that's located on a major thoroughfare, so it aligns with the goals in our comprehensive plan for that. Staff is recommending approval, as well as the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission recommending approval. There are 3 predetermined conditions with this use. And those are having to do with daily operations of facilities, lobby areas not being obstructed, and then also accessibility of doors. The only difference between the predetermined conditions that we have in our zoning ordinance and what we have before you is in a change of hours. So the zoning ordinance says that's from 8 to 9 in operation. Well, like most medical offices, the dentist's office may be open at 7 o'clock on certain days, not necessarily every day. So we've made that revision with the predetermined conditions, which is also found in the ordinance before you. As I stated, Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission has recommended approval to use, so has staff. We have not received any informational inquiries regarding this, nor any for or against the zoning change. So if you have any further questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Jessica, the data sheet says that your hours are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but you just said 9. Is it 10 or not?
Oh, wow, sorry, now I'm at 7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Yes, sir, sorry, 7 to 10.
Reasonable. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? All those opposed, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the first of 2 readings of ordinance 2023-0-16, an ordinance amending Chapter 35 Licenses and Special Business Regulations of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Manvel, Texas, by amending Article 10, Mobile Food Vendors, to change the minimum distance requirement between a mobile food unit, temporary food establishment, from 300 to 100 yards, and add 2 requirements to food truck operations, repealing provisions in conflict therewith, providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 per day for each day of violation of any provision hereof, and providing for severability.
Hello.
Hello.
So not that long ago, just less than 2 months ago, you adopted an amendment for this under Ordinance 2023-002. There was some human error that happened with that ordinance that got to you. These 2 items, specifically in Section 35, 317, regarding the distance, and then also with the 2 other items as far as operation of food trucks should have been in that ordinance. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to reduce the distance between a regular restaurant and a food establishment and where that food truck would be operating. When we came across this the first time with the ordinance, how it should have gotten to you, we realized that 300 yards is just much too restrictive. As you started going through the iterations in your head, and some businesses wouldn't be able to do this because of their proximity to a restaurant, but we also didn't want to have things, where you're competing next door to a brick and mortar. So we're trying to find that balance of brick and mortars operating, but also having that allowance in the special events with the food trucks and opening that up, because we don't want our brick and mortars to go away. The 2 regulations that had gotten left off had to do with operation from sunrise to sunset, unless you have something that's expressly approved within a special event, which probably would be the case. And then lastly, that you cannot vend from a second lane of traffic and not double parking to impede traffic. You can see those are just left off because that's kind of a no-brainer that you wouldn't want a food truck to do that. We also had just some general typos in there that we wanted to fix, having to do with hours, with 8 hours and 6 hours, and just being explicit where we have the numeral, but then also spelled out like we do it in every other ordinance. We thought since it's open, let's fix those pesky little things. So, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any of those.
Yes, sir.
So the school events, are those permitted special events?
The school events would be under special events, and if you went, I'll just use that distance example for 300 yards, you could.
I'm not worried about,
Oh.
I'm sorry, I'm not worried
Okay,
about 300
sorry.
yards. I'm worried about, we play football in the dark. We play sports in the dark. It's after sunset. And if they have a food truck out there, if
Oh.
I'm reading this correctly, then they're not going to be allowed to operate their food truck.
No, they with the special event permit, they could. So we have these hours of operations, but the special event ordinance allows for if there's a different circumstance involved. But generally, this is what we're saying, from sundown, sunset. But in that case, they would say, "Hey, it's after dark. It's 8 o'clock. We have the food truck."
But do they get a permit every time they have a sporting event at one of the arenas?
I don't.
You see where I
We're delving in special events right now, not food trucks. I'd have to look at that. I know. I mean, obviously, your bigger things like any sort of festival or homecoming, those are your big type special events. It may be something that we call it a reoccurring special event, and those reoccurring special events, and we actually thought about Alvin ISD, and we did it because they do a lot of teacher appreciations and want to bring a food truck out there. Well, we didn't want Alvin ISD to come every time to get a permit from us. So we said, oh, well, what if you, as long as that food truck has a permit and it's been inspected, you can do it with that type C reoccurring. So I imagine if we had events like that, let's say it was like track meets, that we could do the same thing with that. Or maybe a track meets on after dark. I don't know.
I mean, like I said, I mean, my concerns are we're playing baseball out here, and under the lights, and now it's after dark, and, you know, it's not a permit thing because they're playing baseball, but now they're technically not allowed to have a food truck out there, and I
It would be with the
feel like
special
we're tying
event.
our hands unnecessarily with sunset to sundown. I'm sorry, sun up to sundown, sorry.
I see what you're saying. Same token, we don't want a blank check, right? Where if we don't know what type, that seems like an event that's, wouldn't cause much trouble. But what if you've got a different type of use, perhaps that we've got that blank check and we say, oh, till midnight, and it's possibly causing some sort of disturbance? And we can take a look at that and find some better language possibly and present it back to you with a second reading if you want to approve it or table.
Yeah, I'd like to see something a little less stringent on a time, and I agree with you that, I'm not looking necessarily for a blank check, but that just during the winter months, that's 4:30 in the afternoon. You know,
Without getting into a sundown or a sunset, I guess if I could ask council, I guess what would you think would be appropriate to put a time, right? We just talked about the dentist's office. What would be a time that you think was maybe too late, and after that too late, it maybe needs a extra approval? Just kind of spitballing out there.
I have a suggestion concerning time. Would it be best to put verbiage in there that says like an hour after the event is closed? I'd be moving it along or something like that?
well, my point is I don't believe that the school district gets a permit every time they have a baseball game.
Yeah,
So
I don't think they do.
right, so I don't think we should tie it necessarily to the event like that per se, but is 9 or 10 o'clock reasonable?
Okay.
It's good enough for the dentist to rot my teeth with what I eat, so let me eat it until 10 o'clock.
I don't want to go.
Very true, very true.
It's at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, I mean, can we put 9 o'clock on it? And,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, the baseball games, the football games, the lacrosse games that I go to, they're all over by that time. Okay?
So 9 or 9:10 or 10 or
Probably 10.
Well, if there's overtime, I don't know.
We're probably going to go to at least 10.
Oh, I forgot about baseball, yeah. I just
10.
runs and
Okay.
runs, yeah.
All right. We will rework that and we'll bring that back to you.
That sounds good. Okay, do I have a motion? Oh, hello.
Dan brings up a good point. Are you okay with sunrise or do you want to see it 6 a.m. or I
It's
don't know?
interesting, I was just having the same thought in my head as we were doing that, because, if we do sunrise too, and those same times, I mean, right now, the sun doesn't come up until 7:30 in the morning.
True.
So if somebody's trying to do breakfast at 6 a.m., I mean, I don't know how many food trucks are doing breakfast, but
Well, but races, they start earlier
Oh, true,
too
good
and that
point.
kind of
So,
thing, so,
like,
7 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
yeah, I think that's probably.
yeah.
You want the dentist hours?
Yeah, the
We
dentist
want the
hours,
dentist
that'll how we'll
hours.
coin it going
There
forward, the
you
dentist hours.
go.
The microphone.
Who knew? You know?
We'll make those changes and bring them back to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do I have a motion to table? Do we
My
want
suggestion
to?
might be is just to amend it. And then make a motion with this, instead of sunrise to sunset, just say 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Approve it on first reading, and then we can bring it back for second reading if there's any other changes.
Okay. Do I have that motion?
I'll move to approve, okay, I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor? All those opposed, and the motion carries 7-0. All right. Consideration and possible action to approve a subdivision variance request seeking to vary Chapter 62, Section 62-111, additional street requirements, and 62-113, sidewalks for an approximate 3.9284 acres of land located at the western corner of Cemetery Road and Scott Street intersection, and authorize the mayor to execute the development agreement. Jose, hi.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. This is a variance request to Chapter 62 of our subdivision ordinance. The variance request pertains to the construction of half of the street and construction of sidewalk. The subject site is an approximate 3.9 acre, the entire tract. It includes a single-family residential home right now. At some point recently, the tract was subdivided, and the southern portion, which is undeveloped, was sold off to Miss Carmen, who's the applicant. And she's planning to build a home on that tract. She submitted a plat application. The plat is under review. At the review, this requirement came up, and the applicant is submitting a request for the variance. With respect to section 62-5, which provides the criteria for the variance, staff reviewed, and we find that there are special circumstances pertaining to this situation because there is an existing asphalt road which was recently resurfaced. The surrounding tracts are mostly developed, and then the fact that granting of this variance is only allowing the existing asphalt road to be used as an access to the property, it's not causing any detrimental impact. So therefore, staff is recommending approval of this request. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Move to approve as recommended.
No second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Consideration and possible action to appoint Derek Damelin to fill the unexpired term on the Zoning Board of Adjustments. I just want to say how happy I am to read this off. I was worried we were not going to have you in our midst, and you've been in our midst ever since I assumed this office anyway. So, thank you. We appreciate it. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that motion. All those in favor? And the motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Damelin. All right, we have mayor and council comments. Anybody got anything? All right, Elaine, she left? Okay, I just wanted to say congratulations again and thank everybody. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor? And so we adjourn.